Walk us through how you got from North Carolina to the NFL and through the NFL.
He was excited at first when I told him my size, but when he got the tape, he stopped picking up the phone.
We had some softwares and things like that. We got to do whatever we got to do to get this kid. And I showed him, I remember it like it was yesterday. I showed him about 8 to 10 plays, and he was all in.
And that's when, the scholarships started to roll in. They started to roll in from all programs across the country.
What was it like playing with Peyton Manning?
His commitment to perfection in practice, led to his success on the field in the games, I believe.
What do you feel like you learned the most by playing in the NFL?
Talent to just get you to the door. What's going to take you over the edge is your character, your work ethic, your adaptability. I'm sure he can give you a whole list of guys that probably just as many success stories he got guys that didn't become successful because they didn't have this together.
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just £5,700, myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans.
Obviously, like you're, Super Bowl winning player, like you've done a lot. But, obviously the parents and the athletes that listen and watch this podcast are in the process. They're going through the recruiting process, right? They have the dream of playing college football at whatever level, whether it's D1, D2, or what have you. So I want to hear your story, man. How did you go through the recruiting process, and how did you ultimately go from trying to, having a dream of playing college football to winning a Super Bowl? Walk us through that.
I mean, Rich, my story is a little bit different because, I never really dreamed of playing college football, growing up. For me, it was just like I obviously was very into sports. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be great at something, but, my upbringing just didn't give me the best resources or the best opportunities. So I actually didn't even play football until I was a senior in high school. And that happened, honestly, through the grace of God. I was walking in the hallway. Actually, I was kicked out of school my sophomore year. That was my second time being kicked out of school. So I was kicked out my sophomore year. And when I went back my junior year, I was committed to doing the right thing and getting back on the right track, going to class every day. And I was walking in the hallway literally at the end of the school day. And I ran into one of the coaches, and he was like, "Man, you need to be playing football. You a big guy." I'm just like, I ain't never thought about it. Like, okay, whatever. And he was like, "Man, just come down, meet the coaches and just try to, work out a couple days, see if you like it." I said, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And went down there, man, and I fell in love with just the brotherhood and the requirements, as far as discipline and work that they require from you. It's kind of like, it kind of aligned with, what I was already trying to do, and that's get myself more disciplined as far as going to school every day and, stop working less hours at my job. And so I went down there, fell in love with the guys and the coaches, and through the grace of God, my senior year, I was able to play. And I wasn't a good player at all. I was a big guy, but I didn't know the game. So started one game, which was senior night, and we gave up 55 points that night. And so, it was a complete blowout. And, I luckily, I wasn't the only guy that played bad, but I played bad pretty much every game, and they put me in the credit recovery program. I was a graduate with my class, and I got a job at a radiator factory. I graduated high school, radiator factory. I'm excited, making about $400 a week. And after about 6 months, I'm like, man, I need to go back to school because I just wanted to be great. I wanted to do something better with my life. At this time, NFL wasn't even a small thought in my head. They just like, go to school. I can use athletics to pay for school, so just go that route. And so that's what me and my mentor came up with. Sent my tape to a guy at the junior college level. He was excited at first when I told him my size, but when he got the tape, he stopped picking up the phone. And so,
what was your size, just so everyone knows?
I was 6'3". At the time, I was around 3. I thought I was 320, 325. That's what I thought my weight was. Realistically, I was about 360 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
But he got excited because of my size. He was like, "Oh man, we need some big guys. We just lost a lot of guys to go play at the next level." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready, man, coach, whatever you need." When he got the tape, he stopped picking up. Like I said, the tape just didn't match what my ability or what my talent ended up being. It didn't match at the time. And so he stopped picking up. And literally, me and my mentor, we was like, "Listen, we got to make a decision. We could either drive up there or go a different route." I packed everything I had into the car, drove 6 hours, and went in his office, and I asked for opportunity. And he gave me that opportunity, and I'm so thankful for that, because when he gave me the opportunity, I took full advantage of it. And really what I noticed when I got to that level, because what kept going through my mind was like, how do I close the gap from where I was at football-wise to the guys that had been there and playing football their whole life? And honestly, Richie, what I realized, man, was guys was only giving 60, 70% every day. So I'm like, man, if I just come in and give 100%, do what the coaches ask me to do, study film, which I think is a big part of the gap that we have from high school to college, just studying film and really just doing the right thing. I said, man, I can close the gap. And by me doing it every single day, I was able to close the gap pretty fast.
Nice. Okay. And then so you were at JUCO when you did, like, what happened from there? How did you end up getting the starting spot, and then where did you go from there?
So getting the starting spot, man, honestly, it was just a matter of, like I said, I was studying film every day. I literally taught myself how to play football through film study. So I would go watch 3-4 hours of film every single day and just understand the techniques, walking through the techniques on my own, studying the game mentally. So by the time I hit the field for spring ball, I had already made a huge gap from high school. And so I just learned a lot, went home that summer. And when I went home that summer, I just was working on the same thing I was working on in spring ball, just using those techniques every day. And when I went back for fall camp, man, I was a totally different player. I was unblockable. I knew everything about the game. I knew what the guy next to me, behind me, was supposed to do. So it made the game so much fast. It made the game, slow the game down for me. And I was able to take full advantage of it, man. And I became a starter at that moment and never looked back. And so I played there my freshman year, came back again my sophomore year, had an amazing sophomore season. And that's when, the scholarships started to roll in. They started to roll in from all programs across the country. And, through the grace of God, I went to North Carolina. I met a guy named B.O., Brian. I went there, and when I went there, man, just the environment that they had built, when you talk about the culture that they had, you looking at the guys, the defensive linemen that they had there, and just the talent that they was producing, day in and out, man. I went there and totally fell in love with it, man. And, they showed me a different light. And I honestly, man, I was hooked. So I'm like, you know what? This thing that they building over there, man, they had some great guys, man. Brian, leading the recruiting thing over there, man. It was amazing, the things that, they was able to build over there. And I was all in, man. And that's when I made the jump from Coffeyville Community College to UNC.
That's awesome, dude. So, Brian, you recruited him?
I did. So, obviously, like Sly said, he got pretty hot there once he started playing really good in JUCO. Fortunately, I saw his tape, fairly early in that process, like 4 games in or so to that really big season he had. And I was locked in right away. I got it down. I'm not going to lie, I kind of skipped the D-line coach at the time because I went to one of the best D-line coaches in the history of college football, who was our head coach, in Butch Davis. And I said, Coach, we got to do whatever we got to do to get this kid. And I showed him, I remember it like it was yesterday, I showed him about 8 to 10 plays, and he was all in. So it went really quick, and then from that point, obviously I just tried to get to know Sly as much as I could. When I found out his story, I told Coach his story, and that's right in Coach's wheelhouse, like a blue-collar guy from working in the factory, trying to take care of his family, to deciding to go back to school and do it the hard way through JUCO, you know what I mean, and all that stuff. He just fit exactly what we were looking for as a player and as a man, and as a person, so it was a really good fit for us. So we just tried to build, a relationship with him and have him trust us and vice versa. And we knew we could trust him, and it turned out obviously to be a beautiful thing. I'll let him finish his story, but yeah, that's kind of the recruiting story behind how we landed.
Like,
how
did you end up getting his tape? It's interesting, right?
So,
Butch Davis is the head coach, right? 8 to 10. So that's all. Sometimes that's all it takes. 8 to 10 plays, right? So how did you?
Yeah. He's obviously Coach Davis has coached some Hall of Fame defensive players, and he's a D-line coach at heart. That's kind of where he hung his hat before he became a coordinator and all that good stuff. But I came across his tape because we had some softwares and things like that. And we're gonna get into this later. How it would have been a lot easier now with what we teach our guys. To get his tape out. So and Sly's gonna speak to that too as well, about what we do and why it's important. But at that time, we were just using a junior college software that would just kind of, periodically send us spreadsheets of some of the, who they felt were the top JUCO guys. And at that time, as a young personnel guy, I was watching tape all day. I was enamored with it. You know what I mean? So I was watching guys, and D-line, was a big deal for Coach Davis. We built our team front to back on both sides of the line of scrimmage at that time, and we were pumping out a lot of draft picks at that position. So we were trying to reload there, and I just came across a spreadsheet, with his name on there. And thankfully, like I said, I got it fairly early. The guys that we were using at that time were pretty good at getting us tape fairly quickly on those junior college guys. And like I said, once I saw it, it didn't take long. It wasn't like a long process. For me, he was big, he was explosive, he was nasty, he changed the line of scrimmage. He was athletic. I mean, he was exactly what we were looking for there at the time. So it went pretty quick.
Nice. All right, so that's legit. So Sly had it. So you got to North Carolina. Walk us through how you got from North Carolina to the NFL and through the NFL.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, what's crazy is Ryan. Like, when I went to UNC on my visit and just even the phone calls, he almost mapped out my journey at UNC to the T. He was like, "Listen, this is your ability. If you come here and if you do this." And even when I was there on my visit, I went to one of the games and he's showing me the guys as they lining up. Man, you got to remember, like, I'm coming from JUCO, so they got guys that these guys look like Superman. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing these guys and he like, this what you supposed to be. Like, you could play at this level. Like, you could compete with these guys. And I'm like, and so just having those phone conversations with him like literally mapping it out for me. He like, if you come here and if you do this and if you do that, you're gonna be an NFL draft pick. And I'm like, man, that's dope. And so like literally when I got to UNC, it was like, and when I got there, like we had that was probably at the height of, UNC from when I got there until now, like we was probably at the height right there. We had NFL draft picks across the board. And so when I got there, man, I just carried that mentality with me and just like outwork everybody. Like I don't outwork everybody, had the right mindset, but more so than anything, man, just take care of my business off of the outside of the field. You know what I'm saying? The classroom and the weight room, like not be a guy that had to be told to do something twice. And so just going there and doing that. And like I said, I had become a really good player. And so when I got there, it was like, man, I fit right in. I just started giving it 110%, continuing to study the game, talking to the coaches, talking to guys like Brian and Bush Davis, gave me a lot of insight on kind of what to expect and, okay, having good days. And then even the days I didn't have that wasn't as good, being able to get that feedback.
Yeah. Okay. So walk me through how you ended up getting to the NFL.
Oh, so after my junior year, they actually let the coaching staff go. And so I'm like, man, it left me with a tough decision. I had the opportunity to, go into the NFL after junior or come back my senior year. And, one of the reasons why I went back to school was because to get my degree. I remember calling my mentor. He was like, hey, man, remember why we started this journey in the first place? So I was really, really motivated to get my college degree. And I felt like I had more in the tank at the college level. So I went back my senior year and I had an amazing year. Became first team All-ACC, All-American. Man, was drafted in the first round of the 2013 NFL draft. Got there. Went to the Super
were
Bowl.
a first round pick?
Yeah, I was first round draft.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I roll. Just kidding.
Yeah, it was.
I'm kidding.
Hey, listen, I tell these young dudes all the time, like, bro, it don't take. I mean, obviously, I was a very talented guy. Don't get me wrong, I was super talented, but talent to just get you to the door. Like, what's gonna take you over the edge is your character, your work ethic, your adaptability. Like, how you adapt when things don't go your way. Because let me be real with you, college, it ain't always gonna go your way. Plays, things off the field won't always go your way. It's like, how do you adapt? And, especially when you get to that level, like, man, I remember I was getting in the draft process and listen, my high school football coach called me. He like, hey, got the NFL card invite. I'm like, hey, man, they going back that far doing their research. Like, literally, man, it's like they want to know everything about you. That's why I tell guys, like, man, your character got to be strong. Like, when somebody talk about Sylvester Williams, like, what are they saying about me? With rooms I'm not in. And so just being able to make it, like I wouldn't say I made it just off straight talent. I made it just off, my leadership skills, my character. Like I said, being able to adapt, being able to being that blue collar guy, that's willing to come in and do whatever I got to do to help the team win. And that's what made me a first round draft pick. And so getting there and being, and I was in the locker room with guys like Peyton, Von Miller, these guys is first ballot Hall of Famers, and so getting in that locker room, it was like, man, it was dope. And going to the Super Bowl,
Who'd you get drafted by?
The Denver Broncos.
The Broncos. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like we had a live event in Las Vegas last summer, and you took the words right out of my mouth right there. I told that group there when I was speaking in one of my sessions, man, I've carried this with me for a long time, and I got it from, I honestly got it from Mike Tomlin. He swears by it. He says, your talent sets the floor, but your character sets your ceiling. And I believe that at every level of college football. So you hit the nail right on the head with that, brother. And you're exactly right. You know what I mean? Your stock rose exponentially because of both, not just because of one. That's 100% accurate.
Yeah, dude, that to get picked in the first round, you can't just be a great player. I mean, that's next level. Cool, man.
Parents of high school football players, you're probably already investing in private schools, trainers, nutritionists, camps, and travel, doing everything you can to help your son, but he's still not getting the level of exposure he deserves, and all that effort is going to waste. That's why I created the Football Scholarship Playbook, and inside are the exact step-by-step systems, scripts, and templates I used to earn a Division I SEC scholarship at Ole Miss at just 5'7" and 150 pounds, and that I now use to help athletes just like your son, where 89% of the players who follow this playbook earn scholarship offers. And right now, I want to send you a copy completely free. All that I ask is that you just cover shipping. So if that sounds interesting, click the link in the bio or go to gonextplay.com/free, grab your copy today, and give your son the proven system to earn the offers he deserves.
So walk me through the Super Bowl. What was that like? How long after you got drafted did you get to the Super Bowl?
My boy slid right in there almost.
Yeah, like my rookie year.
Oh,
Like,
He
it
won
was
his rookie year.
Was that
Won
the
it
year
his
with
rookie year.
Manning? Was that what year? Go ahead.
That was Peyton's. That was the year Peyton won MVP. He threw for like 1,000,000 yards. He had a crazy year that year. But we went to the Super Bowl and we got ran over by it. I was a starter in the Super Bowl my rookie year, and I'm thinking going. I'm like, oh, we definitely winning this game. We got Peyton Manning, Demaryius Thomas. Like we cooking. Man, they beat us so bad.
I remember that.
almost
Who did
like
you guys play that? That was
the Seahawks.
the Seahawks.
We
Okay,
played the Legion of Boom. Let's just leave it at that.
that's right.
Legion of Boom.
But didn't Peyton win the next year?
No, so we won that year. The next year we came back, we lost to Indy in the first round. They fired our coaching staff, brought in Gary Kubiak, Wade Phillips on defense, came back my third year, and that's when we won it versus the Carolina Panthers.
Got it. So you went to 2 Super Bowls.
Yep. I know what both sides feel like. And let me tell you something, losing it, man, I was a young guy, I was crying, I didn't want to talk to my family because I'm like, man, we really just lost the Super Bowl. Like, and then, going back my third year in the NFL was like we were so close as a team, you know what I'm saying? We built a real brotherhood, So even though Peyton wasn't as good as he was 2 years ago, he was kind of on the decline, but he still had it all mentally and missed a bunch of games. We was winning games, man. We was winning games on defense. And when we got to the Super Bowl, that's Cam won the MVP. We got to the Super Bowl, man, and we made him look like we looked versus the Seattle Seahawks 2 years earlier.
For sure. Yeah. What was it like playing with Peyton Manning?
I mean, you talking about a guy, just like his leadership skills, it's just his work ethic, just how he held guys accountable, not just verbally, but just the way he carried himself. I remember I got hurt one time and man, I showed up for treatment, which is at 6 a.m. And I get the treatment and it's like, I'm ready to get it going. And as I'm walking in, in the locker room, this dude getting out the shower. And I'm like, you about to do treatment? He's like, oh, I'm finished. I'm like, and just being the last one in the building, I'm talking about every car gone, he the last car out there. He almost keeping the coach there late. And it's just like his work ethic, man, and just how committed he was to greatness, not just for himself, but for everybody around him. I'm talking about we could be in the middle of a period, 4 or 5 plays in, and the offense make a mistake. He cursing them out, start the whole period over. And it's just like his commitment to perfection in practice, led to his success on the field in the games, I believe.
Interesting. Okay. What do you feel like you learned the most by playing in the NFL?
I mean, I think I learned, overcoming adversity. I think I learned, what the true business is about. I understand the business side of it. It's not just, see, us as fans, we look at it as a game, but it's really a business at the end of the day. And coming into these teams, man, it's like you really have to be an asset to these teams and you really have to find a role for yourself. Like, it's guys that, like when I came to the NFL, I came out of college as a pass rusher. I had a crazy spin move. I remember I did a spin move the first time and got cursed out. It's like, hey, listen, no. You see that guy on the edge right there? He a first-team All-Pro first-team All-Pro outside linebacker. Like, if you spin and he spin, we don't got no edge. We need you to cover him up if he spin on the inside. So just learning how to play my role and just learning, like, it's not always about a me thing. It's a team thing first, and just understanding, like, what can I do to help this team win? What can I do to make this team better? And I think that's when you see teams win Super Bowls because you got 52, 53 guys that's all on one page versus you got, a bunch of guys just trying to chase Pro Bowls and contracts and different things like that. It leads to a lot of selfish play.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So did you play for any other teams or was it just Denver or?
I played 5 years in Denver, played 1 year in LA, 1 year in Miami, 1 year in Tennessee. I played 8 years total.
Wow, man. That's crazy. That's double first of all, to get there, to win a Super Bowl. I think what's the average? 3 years that someone plays?
Yeah, like 3.5 years, yeah.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's an amazing career, dude. Congrats. That's big time. That's
Yeah, man, I'm great. Listen, I'm full. When I left the field my last game, I knew it was my last game. I just was like, you know what, man, I want to go do something else in life. And, I had made enough money and built a life for myself. And so I remember walking on the field after my last game and just was like, I'm full, and when I started getting calls to come back, I was, told my agent, like, I said, man, I'm done, man. I'm
yeah.
done.
Were you
Trying to
just
make
like tired of the level of like getting beat up and the what had it for you where you're just like, I just can't do this anymore?
I think it was that, and then it was just really the business side, just being able to, like play on the team, and obviously you produce well, you grade well, and it's like, well, we got to go with a guy that's younger. You know what I'm saying, he make less money, we're gonna go with him. Just dealing with that, and I just felt like I wanted to control my own destiny and not allow, these organizations and these teams to be able to just click a button and really I got to uproot my entire family again. You know what I'm saying? And so I just kind of got enough of that, and like I said, I had some other stuff going on that I was excited to go into, and again, my goal was never to necessarily be an NFL player. You know what I'm saying? My goal was just to be great at life. And I felt like the things I had accomplished up to that point, like I felt like it was like I was super motivated to just really just have an impact on the world, and through football, I did that. I wanted to go and do that just in life in general.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that, but I want to talk about recruiting, right? Like, obviously, you went through the recruiting process. Actually, some of the guys that we've mentored have earned scholarships by going to the schools. That's one of the strategies we teach, and we have a process we walk them through on how to do that. Obviously, you didn't do that directly with an NCAA school, which is typically the route we go, right? It's like walking in. It's usually Division I or schools that will do that at, and sometimes Division II. You did it at a JUCO, right? So, and Brian, feel free to, obviously, I know you had some good recruiting questions, but for you, like, what are your thoughts on how you went through the recruiting process and some of the things you learned and some of the things that you wish you would have had then that you feel like would have helped?
I think the biggest thing for me, I think I was a bit more mature, just having, working, everyday job, after high school. So I think I was a bit mature because I understood what the real world was. And so when I was going through the recruiting process, and this is what I tell all these younger guys, man, it's like, bro, you got to go with who wants you, bro. Like, I'm not going to a school just because it's Alabama, and it's like the coach may call me, one time and say, we gonna offer you a scholarship, man. Let me know if you want to have a good day, You got to go to the people that's willing to invest in you, and that may not necessarily be the Division I level, because at the end of the day, the number one goal is to what? Go to college and play. Not just to go to university and sit on the bench and say, yeah, I go here. It's like to go to college and produce and try to grow as a player, and I think that was the biggest thing for me, is I was able to understand, UNC calling me every day. You know what I'm saying? They stay in contact with me. They coming to see me. They coming. I stayed in the hood at the time, man. The projects in St. Louis, Missouri, like projects. And, I remember Coach Davis, he coming down in the project with a Super Bowl ring on. Like, I'm scared for him. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, the commitment he had to me, and I had other colleges that they would call, but they wasn't really overly invested in me. And I understood it as a young player. And I also, when I was getting recruited, I also looked at opportunity for myself. So I understood, going to UNC, I understood that they had some guys that was going into the NFL draft. They had some guys that were senior. So I understood that it would be a good fit for me, especially being a guy that's going as a junior. Like, if I want to reach the NFL, I almost got to play right away. And just understand that part, man, helped me out tremendously, because, when the offers started coming from me, man, they started coming like, it was crazy. And I remember, like, I would get an offer from George, and like the next day Auburn would call me. And I'm like, man, they only called me because Georgia just offered me. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I started to realize that early on, because growing up, I didn't know the difference between ACC, SEC. I knew one school growing up. That was Mizzou. That's it. I ain't know no other school. So for me, it was like not really understanding how it all worked. I was able to look at it, from a wider view. Like, I didn't care about the SEC, ACC, son. I ain't care. I want the best opportunity for me that's going to allow me to grow as a player, get the degree, and take my game to the next level.
If you're already spending thousands on personal trainers, nutritionists, private schools to help your son live his dream of playing college football, but he's not getting the exposure he deserves, and you don't want to let him settle for average, then you're going to absolutely want to be at this live training that I'm doing, where I'm going to share with you exactly what you can do to help your son to start getting 5 responses from college coaches every single day, from how to properly set up his social media profiles to when and how to post, to actually send the right messages to the right coaches so that they actually respond, and how do you respond when they do respond. So you don't have to spend thousands of hours trying to figure it out because you probably don't have the time, and so that you have everything you need to help your son be successful. So you're absolutely going to want to leave there. I'll leave a link below where you can register. Look forward to seeing you there.
I know we talked about it a little, we've talked about it over the years and stuff like that. And, you kind of know what we do here, at Next Play. But just talk about your thoughts and opinions on, we teach a lot of, business skills here, how to be a good communicator, how to market yourself and treat your recruiting like a business. Looking back on it now, obviously you just told us the way you went through it, but I know you're doing a lot of speaking yourself now, at high schools with young people. And I know you mentioned to me before, how much you think the mentorship and the guidance is needed now more than ever versus just a typical recruiting service that just kind of does it all for you or markets yourself or sends the mass emails. Just talk a little bit about, your interactions with people and your speaking engagements and why you think, what we're doing and the uniqueness of it is important now more than ever in the recruiting process.
I mean, listen, I think it's, to be honest with you, man, like I told you, I think it's dope, man. And I think it's a huge need, for the younger generation, just because, I mean, it really has become a business when you look at, going to college. Like, you almost got to get the right fit for yourself because, I mean, I see guys, if they transferring 3 and 4 times, it's like, man, like, you got to understand. And I think just equipping these kids mentally for what's to come, because it is a mental battle, and just understanding that, like, they go back to what I said, find the right fit for you, and not just because the team, throw a bunch of money at you or because the team seem to be interested. Like, you kind of get a feel for the teams that really want you and different things like that. And I think just like having these understandings, like, you are a business. And that's what I tell these kids when I go speak to them. Like, you are a business individually. Like, you your own CEO, and your company will go as far as you allow it to go. And I think getting these kids in high school and teaching them, okay, this is what it's gonna look like. Okay, this is how you watch. This is how you break down film. This is how you study film. Understanding, because, man, you got guys that may not know what, different offensive sets is. I'm talking defensive lineman. I'm like, bro, what's I near? And he like, I don't know what that is, and I'm like, oh, I know that play, but it's like understand these plays because it also helps you become a better player, and so it's just building these kids up, man, to understand, the commitment that it takes. Step watching the film. And I think another big thing is the being real with them part, understand, like, you may not be a Power 5 guy. You know what I'm saying? But that don't mean you can't go to the AA level or the Division 2 level and have an amazing career and then eventually get up to,
Right.
the Power 5, because that's what a lot of college football is. Like, me, it's like, man, if I know I ain't all the way there yet, let me start at a smaller school where I can go, I can develop, I can build myself up athletically, physically, mentally. Okay, then I just transfer up and get the opportunities I want, because that's really what college football is. These Division 1 recruiters, man, they got it easy now, because it's like, well, I can go get a bunch of guys out of transfer report, let these high school guys, go to these smaller schools, see how they pan out, and then just go pluck them from there. Throw some money in and pluck them from there. And again, you look at these dudes, like, a lot of these kids I'm talking to, they're like, oh man, I want to go to Oregon, or man, I can't wait so I can get me an NIL deal and different things. And it's like, bro, listen, like, bro, focus on right now. Focus on right now. Like I always tell people, man, become a champ right now. Stay committed to the game. Stay honest with yourself. Be accountable, which I think is something that we all struggle with, especially as young men. It's like we all want to not be to blame for something going wrong. I don't care what it is. You see guys have bad play, they blaming their parents. It's like, bro, be accountable for your own actions. Have the right mindset, believing in yourself, and then be persistent, and that's never giving up. And that's what I preach to these kids. And I think that just having a program like what you guys got, and that's just the everyday mentorship. And then, having guys like Brian that's been at that level for a very long time. He's seen guys like me come through. But you know what else? He's seen guys come through that was extremely talented, that blew a lot of opportunities. I'm sure he can give you a whole list of guys that probably just as many success stories he got. He got guys that didn't become successful because they didn't have this together. They didn't have a good character. They didn't have the right mindset. And And it's like understanding when you can get that kind of feedback from guys that, been at these Power Fives for this many years, just like, man, I mean, like you talking about, there is no better value because a lot of these kids, they want to know what it looked like to be at the next level or what it take to get to the next level. Well, I'm gonna give you everyday insight right here, and I'm gonna walk you through it right now. Understand what it take, how to carry yourself as a business, how to put yourself out there and get the exposure that you need, and not just the exposure where you get 50 likes from your friends, getting the exposure that you need from the people that you want to get in touch with.
Yeah.
Because I see highlight tapes all the time, and it's just like, I mean, it's dope highlight tape. Like, man, it's dope, man. You can hit a backflip. You know what I'm saying? It's dope. You can squat 600 pounds, but it's like, bro, when these college coaches, they got a million guys. They not focusing on how strong you are. Can you hit a backflip or not? It's deeper than that. And
Yeah.
so being able to get say from, you guys, man, it's like, bro, you can't put a price tag on it.
Yeah. Dude, your
Yeah,
story is similar is actually to Cam Ward, dude, which was like he had no stars coming out of high school,
hmm
didn't get any FBS offers, and it ended up being a first round draft pick.
Yep.
Yours is a
And if
little
you
bit
look,
harder of a journey, actually, but
yeah, much harder. But if you look at his journey, it was still a tough journey because if you look at it, but I always say this, man, every program that he went to, he left it better than when he came, and he
yeah.
left an impact on every organization he was a part of. And like, that's the number one thing. Like, I feel like everywhere I ever stepped foot on, like, I left an impact and a legacy that will, in my opinion, outlive me.
Yeah. That's legit, dude.
Well, I know I know you're an entrepreneur yourself now, you know what I mean? And, like we talked about, in our program, like we just talked about, we're a big part of our program just as much as the football, and we're helping them try to get the best possible scholarships at whatever division, we're evaluating them at, but also like the business skills of how to send a proper email or how to properly talk to the coach on the phone, the confidence to talk to people on the phone, the marketing themselves, and just those life skills that would transfer over now. Looking back on it again, like you know what I mean. How important do you think that is to learn those skills now, being out of the game, and being an entrepreneur yourself and doing some of those things that you could have benefited from, if you had to rewind it and, kind of, have availability of a program like ours, how much you feel like that would have helped you now that you're out of ball, you know what I mean? And being able to, effectively navigate that space.
I mean, I think it would have helped tremendously because, again, a lot of the skills that I would have learned back then, I would have started implementing them back then. A lot of the stuff that I learned, how to leverage, my platform that I had as an athlete, into my next career. Now, I'm learning this stuff, year 8 with stuff I should have been learning. Like, if I was coming out of high school, like, and just thinking about it, the type of money, that we're able to make as athletes, the type of impact that we're allowed to have. It's like, if somebody was giving you the blueprint in high school, right? Like, imagine how much that would fast track your career, just even post football, because
Yeah.
at some point the game got to end for all of us, and just being able to have that information, it make it a lot easier transition than, say a guy that's okay, now I got to get out of football and then figure it out. And I think that's why you see so many guys go through this, this form of depression, and this form of feeling lost because it's like everything they had, they poured into the game of football. It's like, which I'm not against pouring into, but also use the platform that you have now to also prepare yourself because guess what? The same things it take to be a good athlete. Like I've been in business now for a long time, and the same thing it took for me to be an elite athlete, it take those same things to be good in business.
Mm.
Some of the same principles. I go talk to corporate. I got to, I'm going to talk to a corporate company this month, and like honestly, it's like I'm comparing business to football so much because when you think about, what it take to build a championship team, it take buying from everybody. It take for somebody in the group to step up and be their leader. But not just be their leader verbally. It's like I'm gonna show me how to be. Show me what you need me to do. You know what I'm saying? Be a leader that lead by example. Different things like that. And it's like having this like. And I think what y'all doing in the next phase, honestly, building up the next generation of athletes. And I think that the guy that you see come through your program, you will see a lot better track record, not only on the field in college, but also after the field when they lead a
Mm.
game of football. And I think that's the biggest impact that I think that you guys are making right now, just equipping these guys for what the real world look like. And listen, don't I tell you all the time, man, like don't leave all your ducks. Don't allow these universities and these colleges to get more out of you than what you get out of them. Because what I can tell you is they're going to max out their investment.
No
They gonna
doubt.
their investment on you. So it's just like, yeah, give it everything you got, but also use that platform to leverage yourself into other opportunities as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Great
dude.
answer.
It's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, I like the skills that they're learning right now. Is definitely not just football skills. These are skills that they can use for the rest of their life. And Brian, we haven't even really had a chance to see that because we've been doing this for a few years now. 89% of our guys have gotten scholarship offers, and we hear we do podcasts with them and we meet with their families before and after. And after, like we've released a lot of those on YouTube, and the night and day, the level of their confidence, their communication skills, all of these things have gone through the roof. But they're all still playing college football. We haven't been doing this for 10 years yet. So I'm really excited to see in 10 years from now, these guys, I mean, they're going to be CEOs of top companies. They're going to be their own business owners. They're going to be authors. They're going to be, doing all of these awesome things because they are going through it now, right? They're committing to doing the work now, to developing these skills on how to overcome adversity, how to overcome the fear of failure, rejection, what people think about you, how to communicate properly with people. Like these are all skills that you learned, Sly, that a lot of young men today are just getting let off the hook because their parents let them off the hook easy and let them quit things, or they get a trophy for ninth place, or whatever, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, like we're not helping them because like that's not real life. Like that's just and then they say, oh well, life's not fair. Well, yeah, it isn't fair, and you got to learn that now, and you got to learn how to get punched in the mouth and hear 10 coaches tell you no before you get one official visit, right? Like that's part of the game. And I'm a fan of like you're 15, 16, 17, 18. Like you need to learn that now. What does that feel like now? And having a mentor to make sure you're doing the right things and walk you through that and help you through that is going to just thicken your skin because you're going to start. You want to start a business? Okay, dude. Wait till you see. Wait till you see. You think you're getting no's now? Wait till you see what it's like then when that employee quits on you, or that there's a lot of bad things that go wrong, a lot of things that go wrong, and you got to learn how to deal with that. You want to work your way up the corporate ladder, you're going to get fired before it's just part of life, and you've got to be able to handle that stuff, or you're going to be sitting on your couch one day and just saying I wish I coulda, I woulda, coulda, I couldn't because of this, I didn't because of that. And you'll have every
Yeah.
excuse in the book, but you'll know deep down it's because you just didn't do it. You didn't develop the skills. You weren't accountable. You didn't have discipline. And, you got a trophy for being in eighth place. I mean, that's my opinion, but, we're a little
No,
soft.
listen, and we live in a world right now where right now we live in a world where it's like they push mental health heavily. You know what I'm saying? They want you to be in your soft area, and it's like and I tell even my son, it's like, bro, yeah, if you scrape your knee up, okay, I put a band-aid over, or but the way they push, especially onto our young men, is like we have to build stronger men. We have to build better leaders, stronger leaders, because at the end of the day, it's like the world ain't gonna care if you had a bad day or if you got, if somebody passed away or somebody, they don't care. It's like at the end of the day, are you gonna produce or are you not? And
You
that's the
learn that at the
uniqueness.
highest level because in the NFL, nothing matters except for did you produce today?
That's all that matters. I don't care if you had a good day yesterday. Today, did you produce? And I think just helping kids understand that it's like, and that's why I say, man, what you guys do is like it's unmatched because getting the real insight from guys who've been at their level
Yep.
and who can tell you exactly what it looked like versus you going into something. You got guys gonna tell you, oh man, you for sure. As parents, we all think our kids is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, of course.
Like, oh man, you see the way he walk, he going D1 for sure. Man, you see how he run that ball, man. And it's like in reality, when you get real insight, it's like I could find you a million other kids that do the same exact thing your kid do. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do he separate himself? And it's like, as parents, we have to take I guess take the love out of it and judge our kids just from a pure talent set. But I tell parents, like, judge your kid based on the way he works. How many hours he on a video game versus how many hours he's spending trying to improve his game. Like, that's how you should judge your kid, not just, oh man, my kid ain't playing, or oh, he didn't get these offers. Like, let me tell you something. Offers don't matter. Stars don't matter. I was a zero. I was a negative 5 stars coming out. When I got to college with guys that was 5 stars, they couldn't even hold my backpack. I'm saying just because my mentality was so much different that it's like, bro, I don't care what you do. Like you ain't gonna outwork me. You ain't gonna have better character than me. You ain't gonna have better. Nothing about you is gonna be better than me, other than the fact that you may bench 400 pounds and I may bench 390. You may run a 4.8. I may run a 4.9. Whatever it is. But the things that I can control, I'm gonna do better than you.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I like that. We need more men like that. It's true.
Yeah, definitely. And
We
you
could
guys,
teach our kids, man. I think the number one thing, you tell me, I want your opinion on this, but I believe the number one thing, and if you watch like all of our podcasts with parents and the kids after they're done, like after they sign and they've worked with us for a while, they all say the same thing. They all say the most important, the biggest thing I got from this, or how I grew from this, is confidence, confidence, confidence. And I think the number one thing that we could help our kids with and give them is teach them how to have confidence in themselves, how to have self-esteem, right? Like I have a daughter, I have a son. It's are they going to be perfect? No. Are they going to win? Are they going to all have great grades? No. Are they going to be great at sports? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But the one thing for sure is I'm going to help them find what they're good at, and I'm going to make sure they got self-esteem and confidence in that thing, right? And I just think you let kids go at 18 years old and they're not confident in themselves, man, you're setting them up for failure. But you were worried, did they have straight A's? Or you were worried, or are they the best at this one thing that you wanted them to be good at? It's like, listen, I mean, that's my opinion, but I think it's confidence. I think it's self-esteem. We teach them that, and they love something, they're going to be disciplined at it. They're going to be accountable. What are your thoughts?
I mean, listen, you couldn't have said it no better. That 17, that confidence, like you see, like the one thing about me is like when I realized, the ability I had, and then when I had people giving me real life advice, like the conversations I had with Brian, is like, listen, if you do this and you do that, like just building me up, and I'm starting to see it myself. Is like, well, let me just try to go down this path and see if it work out, and understanding like being confident is like you can walk up against a giant and feel like you're gonna leave out with the W. And I think that that's something that I carry with me my entire life. It also was a part of my upbringing that I got, from my father. But, just the confidence in myself, just believing in myself no matter what. That's what led me to even, I graduated high school with the lowest GPA you can graduate with. And I walked on to a college like I believe, I had the confidence that I was gonna be able to make it happen. But I had the right mindset though. And I knew that, if I wanted to do this at an elite level, like I had to have an elite mindset. I had to have elite confidence. I had to believe in me. And I think, as kids, they get babied so much, it is like when you get into a real situation, it's like, how do you react to it? And so that's why I say you got to be honest with these kids. You got to be real with them, because if I tell you a lie and then you go out there and then the lie that I told you get exposed, well, now you looking at me and now I'm also killing your confidence. Versus if I tell you the truth and I say, listen, this is what it is. This is what you need to work on. If you do this, this is what will happen. And you start to go out there, you start to say, wait, he said if I, work a little bit harder here, and you start to see the conversation turn into production. It's like, wait a second now. Now you start to build that confidence just in yourself and just in your abilities to continue to go forward versus somebody telling you, oh, you're a great player. You don't need to do nothing else. Just keep being great. It's like, ain't nobody that good. Everybody need a coach. Everybody need a mentor, even the greatest, and I think that that's the uniqueness of it, man. And it's like I tell my son, he's 12 years old, and I got full custody of him, and I tell him all the time, like, listen, I'm not worried about you being good. I'm not worried about you. Like, you go get a C on the test, that's fine. But what I need to know is that you gave it everything that you had. Like, what I would not accept is less than 100%. But if you give 100% and it don't work out, that give me something to work on. Versus if you go out there and give 70% and you expected the results of something that should have been 100% effort, then that's when I got a problem. And the only times I get on him is when he don't get the results he want, and then he looking at me like, what? No, it's because you didn't give 100%. So now that's what we got to work on. Or if you get 100%, you don't get the grades you got to work on. Well, obviously we got to readjust the game plan because something ain't working.
Yeah, dude. I love it, man. I love it. Brian, you got anything else for him?
No, man, it was great catching up with him, Sly. How proud I am of you, man. And I just felt like a lot of our listeners could get a lot from your story, and it kind of what we're doing and what you believe now that you're out of the game and can look back on it now, I think is a good correlation, you know, and just I really wanted people to get to know you a little more, you know what I mean? Because there ain't a lot of you out there, and I'm not saying that because you're up here talking to us now. You know how I feel about you, and what you're about. So, you know, I want kids to know that, you know what I mean, there are stories like that out there, you know, and but what it took to get there, and the principles you feel like, you know, that are needed now more than ever, you know, to make a story like that happen, not just on the field but off the field. So, you know, I really appreciate you being on, and I think it's gonna resonate with a lot of our listeners. So, you know, I love you, brother, and I appreciate it.
I love you too, man. I appreciate, and I tell you this, man. Man, this emotions I get from the conversations and the questions and just what the work that you guys doing, man, it brings tears to my eyes. Just because, like, I'm very passionate about the younger generation, especially our young athletes and our young men. It's like I'm very passionate about it, and to see y'all putting the work in, man, to really try to make a change, bro. It is amazing, man. And I hope that, you know, every parent and you know, every young athlete, man, really lock in and really, you know, get the game plan. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you the game plan. You know, I'm gonna give you the blueprint, and you just take it from there. You know. And I think it's huge, man, and keep up the great work. And, you know, if you got anything I can do to support you guys, you know, just let me know, man. I'm all in.
I appreciate you.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate having you, brother. Amazing story, and we know you're gonna crush it and all your future endeavors, brother.
Hey, man, I'm blessed, man. You know, one thing about it, like I said, that mindset that made me a great athlete, guess what? That's what I'm doing right now in life. I'm going out there still chasing that greatness, man, and you know, I'm blessed, man. I ain't got no complaints, man.
All right, brother. Well,
All
appreciate
right.
you having you on, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
All right, guys, take care, man.
Talk to you soon, brother.
See you later, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.